All right, good day, everybody. We're moving forward post COVID. Just gonna do some easy projects while I finish healing up. One of the things I need to do is run a proper oil line for the oil filter down to the engine. I didn't like the hose that it came with. That's kind of like a wire braid. And this was a project. Excuse me, throat's still a little bit raw. Still haven't got my voice back properly yet. This is a DR44 alternator, commonly found on your GM trucks. This is, I believe, 160 amp. And I think the ones I got in there now might be like 110. And I bought a rebuild kit a little while ago because the only thing that's, excuse me, I've never tested it to see if it works, but the bearings are dry. So I got that kit. Gonna take it apart, rebuild it, maybe throw it in the Jeep, and then keep the other one inside the Jeep as a spare, as a backup. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you've never got COVID, I'm gonna say you're pretty lucky. I went like 2 years, and it's been like the worst experience in my life. It is the worst. I've had it. This is like day 8, and like it was horrible, absolutely horrible. All right, that came off easy, and so did the pulley. We lucked out good because sometimes they will seize on there. There we go, and then the cover comes off. It's cut off. Stuck on that bearing pretty good. And this is where I'm going to pull the pin and kind of walk away from this project. I started this project. I picked up an alternator rebuild kit because an alternator is a DR44, 150, 160 amp alternator, and was going to do an install in my Jeep. But the more I take it apart, and the more that I don't even know if this one works, the amount of time and effort I'm going to put in, I might as well just go back to the wrecker, find one that's in good shape, and put it in instead of screwing around, wasting all this time. Because I'm going to show you what I'm going to have to do to make this all work. So we busted the front case off, and then we got the 3 windings right here. I'd have to desolder those 3 windings to get this end piece off. I still can't really see what the slip rings are like on the end of the shaft there, etc., etc. And like I said, for what it's worth, I might as well just go to the wrecker and pick one up, because that one is, I think these ones are like 100 amp. And then on my shelf last year at the wrecker, I picked up one that's pretty much brand new, another 100 amp. So I think I might just abandon that project for right now. Being post-COVID, not having the strength or really any fucks to give right now at this moment. But it feels good to drive the Jeep. I'm going to take it out for another rip tonight. An alternator is something you really don't want to be screwing around with either. You guys remember last summer when I had the JK out on that camping trip and the alternator shit the bed? You really have no time once that battery light comes on. Like, I think I drove like a kilometer on the JK before it was dead. And the last thing I want to do is fool around, build an alternator, which I have no history, know anything about. Put it in, works, drive 100 kilometers, and then dies out in the bush. I just don't want to take that risk right now. just one of those things where you have that idea and you think, oh man, this is going to be a pretty good project. Then you have like second thoughts once you start taking it apart and you realize, you know what? This could be more work than what it's actually worth. It'd be alright if I had a way that I could properly test it. Had like a bench tester where I could put a load on it and everything else, but I don't, so I'd just be kind of like winging it, so to speak. But I have more important projects I need to focus on right now, projects I need to really do on this Jeep before I could totally finish it off, so to speak. Better end this. You know, post-COVID, start talking too much, and the coughing starts coming on. Now I'm going to start on the next project. Something I've been thinking about doing for a long time. It's right here. This new hosing I got for the remote oil filter, which I'm big time regretting right now. I'm going to get the hood open and we're going to discuss a little bit more about that. Penny light hood light mod I did to the Jeep TJ a while ago is probably one of my favorite mods. It really lights up the engine compartment. But when I did this LS Vortex swap, one of the things I did is I went with a remote oil filter and a low profile oil pan, which I kind of regret now because of the placement. And the original kit came with a hose, but it's not a wire braided hose. So I want to swap it out with that, which I have AN fittings top and bottom, which will make it easier to do kind of service on. So I want to pull that out. Need to disconnect that battery. Another thing I want to correct is I got this bus bar I picked up a while ago, and when I did the swap, I took this battery terminal connector off of a Vortex truck, and I just have all my leads ran to there, but I want to get a proper bus bar and run that. But right now I need to trace those oil lines, because if you get the in and out wrong, it's going to be a disaster. As you can see right there, those fittings are starting to sweat, and I don't like that at all. Just need to pull these two bolts, and I should be able to pull that whole assembly right out. Now, this should pull up. That one's out. Pissing out oil. And I got that one out as well. So there's my setup. I just got to create the hoses now. Through my odometer gauge, the engine's got about 50 psi of oil pressure, and this is just like a rubber hose. I don't really trust it. Or this hose right here has a wire braid in it, so it'll be a lot stronger, especially in the wintertime when your oil pressure is going to be a little bit higher. And it actually almost looks like that line right there is starting to push out a little bit too, so I'm kind of glad that I'm going to get rid of these. I don't have any Loctite for threads, which would be nice in this application. I'm pretty sure I can make this work. Oh, I need a bigger wrench now. Oh, that one's really on there. There we go. Now the fun begins. Start making the lines. Hopefully there's enough hose in this kit. Let's go line it up. How it's gonna go. So I mean, roughly put like right there. I'm gonna have more than enough. I know I should use a hacksaw, but I'll try this little cutoff saw. Now this is where the fun begins. Trying to get this thing to start. Found it easier just to put a socket on the end of it and turn it in by hand to get it all the way to the very end. I can see it now. We're up. And you can see I got that hose butted right up inside there. Throw a little bit of lube on there. If I can get this thing to start. And then when you're tightening it up, you want to watch your cords on your hose behind, because sometimes when you're tightening it up, it'll actually be pushing the hose out and that could create a leak. So you want to pay close attention to that when you're building these lines. Other than that, they're super easy and they're reusable fittings as well. Oil filters back in place with the new lines. Now I should be able to drive worry free. However, there's another issue that I have encountered, which I'm not exactly sure how it happened. I go underneath, and the snap rings for both Johnny joints on the upper control arms have popped. So I need to address that issue as well. I'll tackle that in this video. See what the heck, maybe I didn't insert the snap rings properly when I put them back in. We're gonna find out. Let's get this tackled quickly. This is basically what I did. I put all my terminals on that one post and I want to move it to a bus bar. Negatives off, so I should be good. You know, these are some of the things I did in the beginning, kind of get everything up and going while I tested it and everything else. Now it's time to start correcting some of these things. I'll take all these off carefully. Perfect. Perfect. Couple rivets. Hold that bus bar in place. I think I got all my lines connected now. I'm not missing anything. That worked out well using the original bracket that this was bolted onto. Cleaned it up nice and gives me extra room if I need to add on. Now I'm gonna hook up the battery, start it up, and make sure there's no leaks from those lines. Well, see what happens. Hopefully I don't have the lines crossed. Pressure seems good at 50 psi. I will inspect the lines again in the morning, have a look, see if there's any sweating, but so far everything's looking good. Good news is I have enough hose left over to make a backup hose in case I need one. These ones here, they say they're good for 300 psi. This hose here is good for 500 psi. I just have a hard time trusting a hose without a wire wrap inside. I just had such bad luck with seeing these hoses in the wintertime swell and then burst. I'll just feel better with that one in there. Let the fun begin. Coming underneath. I loosen the upper control arm bolt so you can see. Hopefully you can see, maybe not the hoses in the way. Or the Johnny joint, both sides popped out. I need to maybe make some kind of puller to suck them in there. Maybe I didn't have the snap rings set right. I learned afterwards that there's 2 ways the washers and the snap ring go, so I wonder if I have them in wrong. And that's the reason why it popped, but why did it pop on both sides? We're gonna try to figure that out. I'm actually quite surprised how loose it is, and I wasn't even experiencing death wobble. So now I gotta create some sort of jig to suck it all in so I can get that snap ring back in place. This is gonna be the interesting thing. If I had 3/8 radio rod, which would be alright, but I don't. The only thing I have is 1/4 inch. Let's see if that's gonna work. So that's my contraption right there. Got a piece of 2-inch DOM, and I have a bearing driver, couple nuts, washers, wrench to hold it tight, double nut it, socket that fits over top, tighten her down, snap rings in place, and pull her out. This one here's the harder one. That one there should be easier because everything's out in the open. We'll find out. The only thing I can do right now is reassemble it, and snap ring looks like it's punched in pretty good, and hopefully it won't come out again. Yeah, just gonna do the same with this one here, pop it in place. Hopefully won't have no more issues. That looks like the snap ring's in place. My homemade little tool. Okay, back in place. I can clean up all the tools now. Take it for a drive. I'll leave all this together and use a deep socket for the Johnny joint press, and it seemed to work all right, so I'll keep it around. My short trip took me to Princess Auto, where I went to go pick up a couple things, but they were out of stock, so I purchased these big red jacks and 2 small bottle jacks that were on sale that I'm going to use in a future project. So I just got home, going to check my control arms, see if they popped. That one's still in. That one's still in. Looking good. Do you know what time it is? It's motherfucking beer time. That's what time it is. Every day, I'm getting a little bit better. And this COVID's going away. Still have no smell or taste yet. So I got this big rock. It is honey brown, amber. And to top it off, I go back to work this week. I missed my last shift of 4 days because I was sick. So it's going to be a pretty small paycheck. But Trevor and I were planning a trip next set of days off to go wood cutting and camping. But then they announced a fire ban, so we're probably just going to go cutting wood. It is what it is. Can't wait for fall time when things are a little bit cooler. And no people out there for one thing. But anyways, it's motherfucking beer time. I wish I could taste that, but everything just kind of tastes bland. That's basically how it goes. Anyways, so far so good. Got a bunch of things fixed. Decided not to go down the rabbit hole with the alternator. Seems to be, in the end, be too much hassle for what it's worth. I'll probably just get a DR44 from the record, a good one, and then tackle that route again. But that being said, good thing I did some modifications on those oil lines because I noticed that the control arm upper bushings had popped, the Johnny joints, and I went out for a cruise, and they're still intact. So I'm thinking when I reinstalled them, I didn't press them in when I reinstalled them. I put the snap ring in, and then I used a hammer to tap the snap ring into place. And that obviously must not have got the snap ring seated because both of them popped out. Both of them are still in. Like I said, I talk too much and then I start coughing. So I need to monitor it and then check again in the future. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers, everybody.